Microsoft Project comes with a really quite large raft of data fields that either are for you to enter information into or have been calculated, such as the start date and the finish date based on the duration, etc. Now, if you want to see any of these other columns, we've seen this before. You go to the heading of any of the tables that you're using, right click, insert column, and these are all the other potential columns that you could add. So we've got actual cost, actual duration, actual finish, actual overtime cost, actual overtime work, actual start, actual work, HCWP assignment, lots of baseline fields, contact, confirm, budget work, duration, early finish, finish slack, finish variance, etc., all the way to the end of work variance. Now you could choose to add one of those, or should these not fulfill your requirements for some reason, you can actually create your own custom fields. So let's click away because we don't want one of those. We want to create one of our own. So we go to Gantt chart tools and format. There's the custom fields option. When you choose the custom fields option, it's not as custom perhaps as you might think. You are restricted to how many extra fields you can have. First decision you need to make is whether this is a new field for use in your task data or your resource data. So if you choose it as a task field, it's only available to the task tables or the task Gantt chart. If you make it a resource field, then it's only available in the resource data options, such as the resource sheet. Once you've made that decision, so let's say with task, you then need to choose the type of data, which is quite normal in databases to have to define the data type. And you can see our new field can either be a cost type, a date type, a duration type, finish type, a flag type, a number type, a start type, a text type, or an outline code, if we perhaps want to create our own work breakdown system. If we stay with text, and really the same goes for any of the others, we're then limited to 30 additional text fields. Now that's pretty much enough for everybody, but it is a limit. That's all I'm trying to say at this stage. You can't just have as many new fields as you like. There's a limit to those new fields. And with text fields, if your new field's a text type, it's limited to 30. Now you're not restricted to calling it text 1. We can rename it. So I'm going to rename new name for text 1 and call it difficulty. Okay. Now, as far as Microsoft Project is concerned, that field is still called text 1. So you can see text 1 is in brackets, but it has put my new name on of difficulty. In the section below here, then, we then decide what's going to go in this new field. And we have this option for custom attributes. Well, there's none, in which case it just becomes a text field that we can type in, or there's lookup, or there's formula. So if we wanted this field to calculate itself, which we might do with the cost ones, or if we want it to be a lookup field, then we could choose the lookup option and then click lookup. And then in here, we give the person using our Microsoft project the values for the lookup. So if I'm creating a new field called difficulty, and it's going to have some lookup values, then they're going to be quite simple. It's going to be hard, easy, and normal. So those will be my 3 values. It says here, use a value from this table as default entry for the field. The field can either have nothing in it to start with, or when you use the field, it can have a default value for each new task because it's a task field. So let's set a default value, and it's going to be normal because that was the one I had selected. If I choose up and go to easy, I can say set that as default. So you can see it changes color. Well, let's say normal is the default. We can control the display order for the lookup table by row number, or sort them ascending or sort descending. So that's the row number. So at the moment, if we leave things as they are, it will say hard, easy, and normal, or I could change that to ascending or descending. It will depend really on what you're putting in your lookup table. And then data entry options. Are you going to allow additional items to be entered into these fields? And then those values will be added to the lookup. So that could be quite appropriate if the lookup options that you're choosing aren't exhaustive. There could be other options in there. Well, I don't want people to be able to add things in. They have to choose hard, easy, or normal. That's fine. I've set everything. I can click close. So that's my new field, difficulty. And then we've got an option here for calculation for task and group summaries. Well, there isn't an option there because it's a text field and you can't do any calculation on rolling up the text. Calculation for assignment rows, none, or roll down unless manually entered. Well, we're not really assigning when it comes to this difficulty, it's just a value. And then this option at the bottom here is, do we display the data or a graphical indicator? Well, we're going to cover those options separately. In our case, we just want them to see one of the drop items. Okay. I can then use that new field of mine wherever I want. So I could add it to this table, which is the data entry table anyway. Go here, insert column, scroll down the list to find my new column that I've created. And there it is. Difficulty in alphabetical order, still says text 1 in brackets. Difficulty appears here. I could then go against each of my tasks and you'll see I get hard, easy or normal. So emptying the cupboards could be classed as easy. Moving the table and chairs, hard. Because this is a drop list item, if I then go for easy for that one, for example, I can then replicate with the right hand corner. So all of those now have a difficulty option of easy. If I were to add a new task, let's add that to the end, test task, you should find that it has a default value in the difficulty, which it does, of normal, which is what I sent the default value to. So I can delete that. That was just to demonstrate the default value. So this is a brand new field. I've created it myself, called it difficulty, and I've made it a drop down. You have a drop down against each of your tasks because it was a task field. So creating the new field itself was under custom fields in the Gantt chart tools context sensitive ribbon. You then made a decision on whether it was a task or a resource new field. Then you made a decision on the data type of the new field. Then you decided whether it was just straightforward custom attribute of none, in which you're just going to type in. So it's a text field, it's open for free typing, or a lookup or a formula, and then OK. Fairly straightforward to add your own fields. Obviously, you've just got to decide what you might want a new field for. Our next stage is to look at using some of the other options in here, such as a formula and graphical indicators.